Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In this video I want to talk about one of my favorite of all-time bombs, the 97. I've had the very distinct, nerve-wracking, yet awesome experience of calling in for danger close fire support, where a nearby A-10 answered the call. It was something I'll certainly never forget, but nothing nearly as impressive as this engineering marvel. The 97 is a CBU, or cluster bomb unit. It's one of which that's made by Textron Defense Systems and is what's known as a sensor-fused weapon, or SFW. Once released, it drops to a predetermined height called the HOF, or height of function. At that point, the skin is severed into 3 panels by an explosive cutting charge, most likely det cord, which I've used to cut through steel. The air rushing over the CBU, or slipstream, peels away these panels, where underlies the heart of the unit, the 10 blue 108 submunitions. With the aid of an airbag, the forward 5 108s are ejected, followed by the 5 in the aft bay. After a preset time, the blue 108s deploy parachutes, 1 pilot chute, or drogue, and the primary. The blues are spaced approximately 100 feet apart and get ready for the real show. Once the blues stabilize vertically and fall to approximately 150 feet above ground level, the chutes are released and the rocket motor is activated. This motor causes the blue to halt descent, spin, and cause an upward vertical vector. During the rotation, and after reaching a certain RPM, the blue unleashes 4 smart skeets. These are released covering a 360-degree area where, per skeet, is approximately 90 degrees separate from one another. The skeet spins at a wobbly type of axis. This is critical for the sensors to create a cone for scanning a circular area on the ground. These smart skeets have a dual-mode passive infrared and active laser sensor. The infrared sensor detects the thermal signatures of combat vehicles, while the active laser sensor profiles the target for better detection of colder targets, such as differences in elevation contours. Once a target is detected, the skeet fires an EFP, or explosively formed penetrator, from above the target, performing a kinetic energy kill. This means that it's the velocity of the warhead that does the kill. The warhead itself is non-explosive. The actual warhead is solid copper before firing, which is molten copper at the time of impact. There are 16 grooves for fragmentation along the outer ring of the warhead. This creates 16 individual chunks separate from the main projectile, and acts much the same way as a fragmentation grenade. These are actually meant for softer targets, personnel, or nearby equipment. The center has 1 main slug for the primary target, which can include a heavily armored tank. There are 2 safety features built into each smart skeet. If a valid target isn't detected by the time the skeet reaches 50 feet, it self-destructs, making for a cleaner battlefield and far less chances of innocent casualties, as the older CBUs have been known for. The first conflict that it went to was Kosovo, but it was never used. But it debuted in theater April 2nd, 2003 during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Not one single civilian casualty from unexploded ordnance has ever been reported. It's quite a huge difference from other CBUs in operation, most of which have been banned by most countries. If the munition has somehow both not fired due to not finding a target, as well as survived a failed self-destruct, it is disabled by an internal timer. Certainly is some very impressive ordnance. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these settings. From the DSMS page, click on Inventory, OSB 5. You'll see that the look is the same, other than it saying Inventory. Now from here, there are 2 ways to get to the page that we want to be in. We'll do both, but let's do the easier way first. Click on the station you want. In this case, I want Station 7 at OSB 6. Then click OSB 3 for Inventory Status. The settings that you have available here will depend on the type of ordnance. I want to set the height of function, so I can click the OSB for it, being OSB 18, which will cycle through the available settings. It ranges from 300 to 3000. Technically, the higher the container is opened, the wider spread of the submunitions. For this one, I'll go to the smaller extreme for 300 feet. you'll notice there are two load functions. Let's take a look at them real quick. If we make changes and press load, then the settings are saved just for this one station. So if we go into station 5, we'll see that the settings are still at the defaults for it. While we're here, I'm just going to go ahead and set this for the other extreme of 3,000 feet. Let's take a look at the other way to get to the inventory status page. I'll select station 8 for the 105. Now, since the 105 is a CBU, I'll click on OSB 7 for CBU. Now it shows me all the possible CBUs and not actually the ones that I have on my aircraft. Since the one we're talking about is the 105, I'll select the 105 by pressing OSB 8. And now we're back in the same place, but just took longer to get here. You used to have to go this route if you didn't have the station selected prior to going into the inventory page, but I believe this changed with an update. But now that we're here, let's see what the Load Sim button does on OSB 10. I'll just make a quick change here and set the HOF to, say, 2,200 feet, and press OSB 10 for Load Sim. Now, if you look adjacent to Station 8 at Station 4, you'll see that we have the same weapon type. So in this case, the Load Sim has loaded the same data to it. This can come in handy and save some time. Now I'm just going to set my missile time here for my Mavericks. On second thought, perhaps that should be in its own video for another time. Let's take to the ear so I can show you some examples of all this and cover some other things that you might not know. There's so much time and so little to do.
Wait a minute. Strike that. Reverse it. Thank you.
Alright, now I want to talk about a couple different things here. Right now we're below 3,000 feet, and if you remember, we have number 5 here set for a height of function of 3,000. Set that for CCRP, save that. And actually let's arm. Now if you look on the HUD, we now have a message on there saying Invalid Fusing. Well, that's because our height of function is set for 3,000 and we're currently below 3,000 feet. Now, as we climb above 3,000 feet, that message Invalid Fusing will disappear and we'll get our CCRP reticle. And there it is. Now, I want to try to stay right above 3,000 feet so you can see that the CBU actually does deploy at 3,000. And we have deployment. Now, in case you missed that, if you look at the numbers here, you'll see that the CBU is actually releasing at 3,000. I will show you the targets, but please take that with a grain of salt. This is more for your entertainment. As you know, it has a lot more to do with just your height of function setting. Not bad though. Looks like I got 7 of them on that run. But again, do take that with a grain of salt. It's all on your pickle time, your approach, and so on and so on. Now, this next one, I would never use a 97 for such a low HOF setting. As you can see, we have it set for 300. I'll set this to CCRP. And save that. I'm going to fast forward here to get us on target a little faster, and you can see what a waste of munitions this would be. Now, a HOF setting so small for a 97 or 105, it's not going to have time to react. It's not going to have time to open up and disperse on your targets. So as you can see, it would just be a wasted ordnance or a waste of $300,000. The 97 and 105 are basically one and the same. Once a 97 is fitted with the Lockheed Martin tail kit for wind correction, it is then designated a 105. Same bomb, just tail kit. This kit is called a wind-corrected munition dispenser, or WCMD for short, pronounced WCMD. The WCMD system uses the aircraft's inertial navigation system to know its current location and the location of the target. So in other words, it uses the tail kit to steer the bomb to the target location, providing this location is designated VSP, or sensor point of interest. Use of this kit allows for higher accuracy in making it deployable at higher altitudes. The 105s are what something like the B-52 uses, dropping them upwards of 40,000 feet with standoff ranges up to 12 miles from the actual target. Quite honestly, the A-10 has little business at high altitudes. It's not a fighter, gentlemen. I've never needed the 105 since the A-10 of course is a close air support attack aircraft, and I normally have more than enough room to stay above my threat and still deploy the 97 most effectively. Also on that note, the 103 is to the 87 as the 105 is to the 97. So a 103 is actually just an 87 with that same tail kit. Well, we're out of 97s. I have another A-10 standing by. I will be right back. Don't try this at home.
Gentlemen, that was a fart.
Well, this is better. Now we have 8 more to play with. Alright, let's take a look at what we have here. A whole bunch of 97s. In these examples, I want to do some different things here. But first, let's take a look at the actual fuses. Bear in mind that in real life, most fuse settings on bombs are set by the weapons crew on the ground, and really cannot be changed via the cockpit like this. So I'm going to go back into the inventory, and inventory status, and let's play around with the HOF. Now if we adjust the HOF to whatever we adjust it for, and up top, if you look at FZU or our fuse 39, if we set that to no, you'll see that the HOF disappears. We're left with just the function time. So let's actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. With no fuse and no HOF, it will open as soon as it detaches from the aircraft. Let's set our function time here to 223 for this one, and we'll save that. And let's go into station 7, and let's do the opposite here. Let's say no fuse, and we'll leave that at the function time of 0.63. Now, I've done a million tests here, and I don't see any difference at all. So, being the fact that there is absolutely zero mention of the function time in the manual, I would have to venture to guess that it's not modeled. So, I don't see why we should even bother wasting any more time with that. Now I want to actually get into a couple profiles here. So I'm going to go into the profiles page, select the CBU-97 profile, view that profile, and I'm going to make some settings changes but save it to my own profile. I'm going to say peers and CCRP, leave it at its defaults, and now you can go to the UFC or the CDU here and enter a name. I'm going to enter, let's let's say pair. And click OSB 18 for new, and you'll see that it's now saved as pair. So I'm going to go back into that profile and set it to ripple single. And I'm going to go up to the UFC this time and type in, let's say, a quantity of 4. And I want to spread these apart more than 75, so let's say 200 feet. And enter that for feet. And now again, rather than save this, I don't want to overwrite what I had for pair. So let's call this one, let's say rip. And once again, click on new and save. And you can see now we have 2 profiles to choose from. I'm going to select pair, activate that profile. And now I want to deselect all these other stations. I only want to have station 4 and station 8 for our pairs. Now also note that you're not going to be able to drop a pair that have different fuse settings. Now, I don't have a listener for here, or I don't have a laser, so I can use my missile here, or my Maverick, for its sensor and get myself a SPI. And here is our waiting target. And now when we drop them, if you watch, you will see they will drop at the same time in pairs. Now once again, with the CBU-97 dropping in pairs, I see that as a huge waste of ordnance. Being the fact that they're dropped together, have the same fuse settings and same coverage area, to me, this is a waste. You can get the same result with just one successfully well-placed 97 than you can in dropping them in pairs. So I took out 6, wasting 2 different bombs on them. Well, for our 4 remaining, I want to do this one with our ripple. So I'm going to activate that profile. Now, rippling a 97 is a very good idea and one that I use often. Now here, I'm approaching this convoy. This is just one example. Of course, you can use ripple for whatever you want, a huge echelon of tanks perhaps. Now this time when I click and hold, you're going to hear each bomb being released 200 feet apart. And there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. One, 2, 3, and 4, 200 feet apart, giving us a huge coverage area. Not bad. It looks like we have, what? 2 survivors. Huh. Oh, make that 1 survivor. I don't know, boys. Should we let them live? Nah.
As Boss started cooking up a batch of hazard hospitality, the Dukes were dropping into the frying pan old Boss had waiting for them.
Now I feel bad. Not bad that I took him out, but bad that I didn't use my gun. Oh well, fun is fun. And that pretty much covers everything I could think of on the 97. So hopefully you enjoyed this. There are a lot of things that I really like about the 97 in the DCS A10. And if you look closely, you can see how well it's actually modeled. The 3 panels split as they should. And if you look real close here, you could even see that the front ejects and then the back, which also is just very accurate. You can tell the developer here really put a lot of time and effort into this, and it really did a good job. Taking pride in your work, is a little bit different than having to do it, and here you could tell the person really enjoyed what they were doing. Everything is modeled exactly. And you see here, even the individual skeets are spread. Now, I hate to say anything negative here, but as you can see inside the blue 108, it actually shows them as still having them also inside, as well as here when it drops. Something I am fine with. Again, the better you model something, the more people like me are going to say, oh, this is so awesome, but why didn't they do this? But it's still 100% fine. Another thing that I really like here is you can see even this right here. To me, this gives me enough of an effect to look like that molten copper that's shooting towards our target. And as each individual one sprays into the actual armor or truck or whatever, that too is just phenomenal. A couple things I don't like, and that is the fact that when I do a pass and drop a 97 on additional survivors, I think that it should target the existing ones, even the ones that were destroyed. It would be nice if it targeted them, because that would be something that would happen in real life. And I don't know if it's a bug, but I've had my 97s dead to rights before on the remaining survivors, and they'll just fall and do absolutely nothing. Now in this video, of course, I'm only talking about the 97 and just my summary here, and there are definitely a lot more things that I like and are really cool. Like, this is one of my favorites, to where the further away you are, the more delayed the explosion, as in sound traveling. And I think that's really, really cool. Well, that about wraps things up for me. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Keep in mind that I'm just another user of the product. And on that note, stop on by the forum. I created a forum for users just like you, Dantrix.net, a place to have fun, engage in some intellectual conversation, and always some not so intellectual conversation. It's all about fun. Check out our Simmerplex, watch some videos, maybe post your own video, I hope you do. Want to read an unbiased review? And better yet, have a product that you're happy with? Write a review. Even if you have a product that you're not so happy with, write a review. I encourage that, and I have a lot of tools available to you to make some pretty good looking reviews. So if you don't find what you're looking for, feel free to request it. Before I buy a product, I'm much more interested in what you, the user, has to say about a product before I buy it, not what they say about their own product. We have a very cool state-of-the-art flash gallery. Works fantastic for surround gamers, people that have multiple monitors. You could even enter contests and win prizes with screenshots, paints, you name it. Looking for a tutorial? I've done a few, and I have plans for a whole lot more. So if you're interested in some interactive flash tutorials to help learn the art of flight, general navigation, and advanced navigation, you might enjoy them. Just about every forum has a tutorial section, so whether you're looking to do some video editing or whatever it is, stop on by. It's free. So until the next time, bye-bye.